The sun was rising over the vast western plains, turning the horizon into a river of gold. The tall grass swayed like waves under the morning wind, and far off the sound of hooves echoed softly across the open land. That sound belonged to Tommy Ridge, a young cowboy barely 16, and his horse Dusty, a strong chestnut stallion with a white blaze across his nose. Tommy and Dusty had been together since Dusty was a wobbly legged colt. Tommy had found him one cold night in the barn, trembling and weak, his mother gone. Every ranch hand said the colt wouldn't make it through the night, but Tommy refused to give up. He wrapped the small creature in an old blanket, fed him warm milk from a bottle he'd heated by the stove, and whispered, "You're gonna pull through, little fella. I'll take care of you." He stayed there all night, sleeping in the hay beside the fragile colt, waking every hour to check on him. From that moment, they were family. Over the years, Tommy grew into a hard-working ranch boy, honest, determined, and kind. His father had passed when Tommy was just 12, leaving him to help his mother keep their small section of the Silver Creek Ranch running. Tommy never complained about the early mornings or the backbreaking work. He understood responsibility, and he carried it with quiet dignity beyond his years. Dusty grew strong beside him. Together they rode the wide meadows, herded cattle across rolling hills, crossed swollen rivers in spring, and chased the horizon on lazy summer evenings. Tommy often said, "Dusty's not just my horse, he's my heart with four legs." The other ranch hands would chuckle at the boy's devotion, but they all knew it was true. The bond between them was something special, something rare even in a place where men and horses worked as one. Every morning before sunrise, Tommy would brush Dusty's coat until it shone like copper in the light. He'd check his hooves, run his hands along his legs to make sure there were no injuries, and talk to him about the day ahead. And Dusty, loyal as a shadow, would nudge Tommy's shoulder or tug playfully at his hat, as if reminding him, "We're a team." Sometimes Dusty would nicker softly, and Tommy swore the horse understood every word he said. The other boys Tommy's age spent their evenings playing cards or causing mischief in town, but Tommy preferred the company of his horse. They'd ride out to the ridge where the land fell away into valleys painted purple and orange by the setting sun. There, Tommy would sit on a rock while Dusty grazed nearby, and they'd watch the stars emerge one by one across the endless sky. But one summer, the bond between them would be tested in a way that no one could have foreseen. The rains didn't come that year. Day after day, the sky stayed empty and merciless, a pale blue dome that offered no relief. The once green pastures turned dusty brown, and the cattle grew thin and restless, their ribs beginning to show through their hides. Streams that once sparkled under the sun became dry beds of cracked mud, and the watering holes shrank to muddy puddles that the desperate animals crowded around. The ranch hands worked longer hours, trying to keep the herd together and find enough forage to keep them alive. Tempers grew short in the heat, and worry lines deepened on every face. Tommy's mother stopped singing while she worked in the garden, and even Dusty seemed to sense the tension hanging over the ranch like a thundercloud that refused to break. One evening, under a fading red sky that promised no rain, the ranch foreman, old Jed Barnes, gathered the men around the fire. His weathered face was grave, his hat pulled low over eyes that had seen 50 years on this land. "We're running low on water," he said, his voice rough as gravel. "If we don't find a spring soon, we'll lose half the herd, maybe more." The men exchanged uneasy glances. They all knew what that meant. The ranch couldn't survive losing that many cattle. Families would go hungry. Some hands would have to be let go. The life they'd built together would crumble like the parched earth beneath their boots. "There's talk of water up in Deadman's Canyon," one of the older cowboys said quietly. "My granddaddy used to speak of a spring there, hidden back in the rocks." The others shifted uncomfortably. The only place water might still be found was Deadman's Canyon, a place folks avoided. It was narrow, rocky, and rumored to be crawling with rustlers who used the maze of stone passages to hide stolen cattle and ambush unwary travelers. More than one cowboy had ridden into that canyon and never ridden out. "That canyon's no place for decent folk," Jed said, shaking his head. "Too dangerous. We'll have to think of something else." Tommy looked up from where he'd been sitting at the edge of the firelight, Dusty standing quietly behind him. "I'll go," he said firmly, his young voice cutting through the murmurs. "Me and Dusty will find it." The circle fell silent, all eyes turned to the boy. Jed hesitated, studying Tommy's face in the flickering firelight. He saw determination there, but also something else, the kind of courage that comes from innocence, from not yet knowing how cruel the world can be. "That canyon's bad country. Son, real bad." Those rustlers don't take kindly to strangers. Tommy just smiled, the same gentle smile his father used to wear. Ain't no place bad enough to scare us, sir. Besides, Dusty's got good instincts. He'll keep me safe. Behind him, as if understanding, Dusty stamped one hoof and tossed his mane. Tommy's mother tried to protest when she heard his plan, but she saw the set of his jaw, her late husband's jaw, and knew he wouldn't be swayed. She packed him provisions, jerky, hardtack, a canteen of precious water, and her husband's old compass. She hugged him tightly before dawn and whispered, "Come back to me, Tommy, that's all I ask." "I will, Mama, I promise." At dawn, the boy and his horse set out. The plains were quiet except for the rhythm of Dusty's hooves against the hard-packed earth. The air shimmered with heat even in the early morning, and the horizon wavered like a mirage, playing tricks on tired eyes. They rode for hours, the sun climbing higher and hotter with each passing mile. Tommy shared sips of water with Dusty, rationing it carefully, knowing they'd need every drop. By midday, they reached the foothills where the land began to rise and buckle. The flat prairie gave way to rocky terrain, and soon the canyon walls rose around them, towering red cliffs that swallowed the sunlight and echoed every sound. The temperature dropped in the shade, but the air felt close and oppressive. Tommy wiped the sweat from his brow with his bandana. "Hang tight, Dusty," he murmured, patting the horse's neck. "If there's water anywhere, it's gotta be here, we just gotta find it." Deeper they went, winding between rocks and fallen boulders, some as big as houses. The path narrowed until Tommy had to guide Dusty carefully, the horse's hooves clicking against stone. Strange bird calls echoed from somewhere above, and once Tommy thought he saw movement on the ridge, but when he looked again, there was nothing but stone and shadow. The air grew heavy and still, the only sound the soft clop of hooves and Tommy's breathing. His shoulder blades itched with the feeling of being watched, but he pushed the fear down. He'd come too far to turn back now. Then, just ahead, Tommy spotted something, a faint glimmer reflecting in the distance, like a piece of sky fallen to earth. His heart leaped. There it is. "Boy, water!" He urged Dusty forward, hope surging through him. The ranch would be saved, his mother wouldn't lose everything, the herd would survive. But before they could reach it, a sharp crack shattered the silence, a rifle shot. The sound bounced off the canyon walls, making it impossible to tell where it came from. Dusty reared, whinnying in panic, his eyes rolling white with fear. Another shot rang out, echoing through the canyon like thunder. Tommy ducked low in the saddle, pressing himself against Dusty's neck, but not fast enough. The bullet grazed his shoulder, tearing through his shirt and flesh like a branding iron. He cried out in pain and tumbled hard to the rocky ground. The world spun, sky and stone blurring together. His shoulder burned like fire. Out from behind the rocks came three rustlers, their faces hidden beneath dusty bandanas, their eyes hard and cold. They wore the mismatched clothes of outlaws, stolen vests, battered hats, gun belts slung low. "Looks like we got ourselves a stray," one sneered, his voice cruel and mocking. He was tall and lean, with a scar running down his cheek. "Just a kid, probably thinks he's gonna be a hero." The others laughed, harsh sounds that held no warmth. Dusty turned, nostrils flaring, eyes blazing with protective fury. When one of the men stepped toward Tommy, reaching down as if to search his pockets, Dusty lunged forward with a fierce whinny, kicking up dust and striking the ground with his hooves. The iron shoes rang against stone, throwing sparks. He positioned himself between Tommy and the rustlers, ears pinned back, teeth bared. The rustlers stumbled back, startled by the horse's fury. One reached for his gun, but the tall one grabbed his arm. "Hold on. That animal's crazy, he'll trample us." Dusty charged forward, and the rustlers scattered like tumbleweeds before a storm. "Let's get out of here," one shouted, his voice high with fear. "That animal's crazy? The kid ain't worth it." And they ran, scrambling over rocks and disappearing into the maze of the canyon, leaving Tommy bleeding and weak on the canyon floor. Dusty circled back immediately and lowered his head beside his fallen friend, nudging his arm softly with his velvet nose. Tommy tried to speak through the pain, his voice barely a whisper. "Go home, Dusty, get help." Blood soaked his shirt, dark and spreading. His vision blurred at the edges. He touched his nose to Tommy's forehead one last time, as if making a promise, then turned and galloped out of the canyon, his hooves pounding the dry earth like a drumbeat. He ran across the open plains, mane streaming in the wind like a copper banner, mile after mile. He didn't slow, not for thirst, not for the pain in his legs, not for the exhaustion that made his muscles scream. The sun climbed high, baking the land until heat waves danced across the prairie, but Dusty kept running. He leaped over gullies, splashed through the last remaining puddles of what had been streams, and raced past herds of startled antelope. His lungs burned and his heart hammered, but he never faltered. He knew the way home as surely as birds know the path south in winter. At last, just as the sun reached its peak, he reached Silver Creek Ranch, stumbling into the yard with his flanks heaving and foam flecking his chest. His legs shook and his head hung low, but his eyes were still bright with purpose. Old Jed saw him from the corral and froze, his rope falling from his hands. "Dusty, where's Tommy?" The other hands came running, drawn by the commotion. Tommy's mother rushed from the house, her face going pale when she saw the riderless horse. The horse snorted, wild-eyed, and turned toward the horizon, pawing the ground urgently as if begging them to follow. Then he turned back to them and whinnied, high and desperate. Jed didn't need words. He'd spent his whole life with horses, and he could read their language as clearly as any book. "That horse is leading us to the boy." He saddled his own mount with quick, practiced movements and called out to the men, "Saddle up, now, and bring water and bandages." Within minutes, 6 riders thundered out of the ranch yard, Dusty leading the way despite his exhaustion. The horse seemed to find new strength, driven by something deeper than physical endurance. He led them across the prairie at a pace that tested even the fresh horses, never hesitating, never deviating from his path. They rode hard, dust flying beneath their hooves, the afternoon sun beating down without mercy. When they reached the canyon mouth, Jed felt his stomach tighten with worry. Dead Man's Canyon, he should have known. Dusty led them through the twisting passages, past the places where the rustlers might have ambushed them, but the outlaws were long gone. When they reached the bend where the spring glimmered faintly in the shadows, they saw Tommy lying against a rock, pale as death and still but breathing. His chest rose and fell in shallow movements. Dusty stood over him, ears twitching, eyes calm and watchful now, as if he'd been waiting for them to come, as if he'd known all along they would. Jed leapt down from his horse before it had fully stopped and knelt beside the boy, his weathered hands gentle as he examined the wound. "He's alive," he whispered in relief, his voice thick with emotion. "This horse saved him, rode all that way and brought us back. I've never seen the like." Tommy's mother, who had insisted on coming despite the danger, dropped to her knees beside her son, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered to Dusty, reaching out to touch his nose. "Thank you for bringing him back to me." Dusty lowered his head and nuzzled Tommy's chest tenderly, as if checking that his friend was truly safe now, as if making sure he was still breathing. They made a travois and carried Tommy home as gently as they could. Dusty walked beside him the whole way, never straying more than a few feet from his friend's side. Back at the ranch, the local doctor cleaned and stitched Tommy's wound. The boy had lost blood and spent too long in the sun, but he was young and strong. Tommy slowly recovered over the following weeks. His shoulder healed, though it left a scar he would carry all his life. A reminder of the day loyalty proved stronger than fear. And Dusty? He stayed by the barn every day, watching Tommy's window, waiting for the moment his cowboy would return. The ranch hands made sure he got extra oats and the best hay, and they treated him with a new respect. This wasn't just a horse anymore. This was something special. When Tommy finally stepped outside again 3 weeks later, still weak but healing, he walked straight to Dusty and threw his arms around his neck. His voice trembled with emotion. "You didn't leave me when I was down. You came back for me? Boy, you could have died out there, but you came back." Dusty whinnied softly, pressing his nose against Tommy's chest as if to say, "That's what loyalty is, that's what family does." From then on, wherever Tommy went, Dusty went too. On the range, in the storms, through the long, quiet nights under the stars, they were never apart again. The drought eventually broke, the rains returned, and life on Silver Creek Ranch went back to normal. But something had changed. Everyone who met Tommy and Dusty could sense it. The bond between them had been tested in fire and had emerged unbreakable. Years later, Tommy Ridge became known across the plains as one of the finest cowboys in the West. He married a good woman, raised strong children, and eventually took over as foreman of Silver Creek Ranch when old Jed retired. But when children gathered around the campfire and asked about his adventures, he never spoke of the cattle drives or the storms he'd weathered. He never boasted about the outlaws he'd faced or the wild horses he'd broken. Instead, he told one story, the story of Dusty. He would smile softly, his weathered hand unconsciously moving to touch the scar on his shoulder, and begin, "You see, kids, people talk about bravery and strength out here. They talk about being quick with a rope or steady with a gun, but there's something even greater, loyalty. It's when you stay true, not because it's easy, but because it's right. When things get hard, When the trail gets dark, when everyone else might turn away, that's when real loyalty shines. The firelight would flicker across his weathered face as he looked toward the stars, the same stars he and Dusty had watched together for so many years. Dusty taught me that he didn't speak a word, but he showed me more about friendship, about love, about what it means to be loyal than any man ever could. He had every reason to leave me in that canyon. He was exhausted, injured, thirsty. His instincts told him to save himself, but he stayed. And when staying wasn't enough, he ran farther than any horse should be able to run, through pain and exhaustion to bring help. He would pause then, remembering. That's the kind of friend everyone should have. That's the kind of friend everyone should try to be. And as the night wind whispered across the plains, carrying the scent of sage and wild grass, the children would imagine the loyal chestnut horse standing proud beneath the moon, the symbol of courage, love, and the truest kind of loyalty. Some of them would carry that image with them all their lives, and they would measure their own friendships against that standard, the standard set by a horse named Dusty, who proved that loyalty isn't just a word but a choice you make when everything is on the line. Tommy lived to be an old man, and Dusty lived a long life beside him. When the faithful horse finally passed peacefully in his sleep, Tommy buried him on the ridge where they used to watch the sunsets together. He marked the spot with a simple wooden cross and carved into it, "Dusty, true friend, true heart." Even now, they say, on quiet evenings when the wind blows just right across the western plains, you can almost hear the sound of hooves, steady and sure, echoing across the land, the sound of loyalty that never fades, the sound of friendship that transcends even death itself.